Hey everyone, so I have done it. I have finally read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas and A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, and I wanted to talk about both of them separately, like away from a wrap up, because I have a lot of thoughts on them and I know they're also so loved, so I know that you guys would want to hear all my thoughts on them. So, starting with the first one, I definitely think the second one is better than the first one. That being said, I think the beginning of the first one was really slow. I liked the opening scene with Feyre hunting, and then when she accidentally kills the fairy and like that whole storyline, but then it's as soon as she gets to like Tamlin's estate, it gets kind of boring because she just does the same thing every day. But I think that's kind of the point, is to portray to us readers like how bored she was, because I think that's important later when you compare it with her having freedom in the second book. And then it gets interesting when she goes under the mountain to fight for Tamlin and Rhys helps her, and that's when it starts to kick up with the trials and everything and the deception. And this is really like, I've always been team Rhys, and this is where I started to see the kind of the badness of Tamlin, because I'm like, okay, Rhys is the one who's there helping her, and Tamlin's sitting on his ass next to the queen doing absolutely nothing, and Rhys is actually doing something and cares about her. Like, she literally could have died like so many times in that cell if it wasn't for, like, at first Lucian, but then if it wasn't for Rhys, like, she could have died. So that's, I think, where you start to see that, one, Rhys is superior, and two, who values her more, if that makes sense. And then obviously the ending where she like dies is really sad, and then they bring her back, and the whole like shocks about the bond, like the deal brought her back. We'll get into that later. So this book overall was like, I was like, okay, like I know what's going on, like whatever. And then I picked this book up, and all hell breaks loose, and shit goes crazy and goes wild. The first fucking scene in this book is Feyre in pain and Tamlin not caring. So we can just talk about that, because literally she wakes up to vomit, and she's like, I'm pretty sure he's awake, he just, like, isn't coming to get me, doesn't care. And I'm like, hello? And then poor Feyre is just, like, withering away and being used, and finally she asks for help, and Rhys comes and helps her and takes her away and enacts the bargain, which obviously he didn't do until she literally asked for someone to help her. And then she's mad about it, which, like, I get what she's saying, but, like, when I was reading this, I was like, you know that he just did that to help you. Like, I don't think he was gonna enact the bond and, like, the deal you guys created until you, like, needed him to. And you find out later that that's true. And then she goes to Night Court, and the only thing he's concerned about is like her health and like feeding her and bathing her and clothing her, and then like teaching her to read. So it's like, okay, he's actually like a sweet boy. And then she goes back to Tamlin's, and this is where the abusive tendencies of Tamlin's come in, where he's like, you can't leave, blah blah blah, and like he's like manipulating her with, when he like literally like explodes and could have killed her if she didn't shield herself. Like, if she was the Feyre that she had been before she was immortal, he would have killed her. But that doesn't seem to bother anyone, but that would bother me. I would be out of there right after that. But obviously with like abusive relationships, which is what this was, she didn't feel like she could leave. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, to like manipulate her, and then like she forgives him. And then finally, when Tamlin locks her in the house, which is so awful and wrong, because not only is it just wrong to do to a human, but especially like with her PTSD with Under the Mountain, and then Rhys and Moore come to help her, thank God, and then she's like, I'm not going back. I was like, yes, queen, you stand up for yourself, and you don't need to go back. And that's one of my favorite arcs of this story, is Feyre's, like, I love how they portrayed her PTSD and they didn't just gloss over it, and then they showed her like healing and how it was hard, and like healing isn't linear. Like, of course she's gonna have spikes and go like up and down, and then towards the end of the book she's like, I am a strong, independent woman, and I don't need, I'm no one's pet. Like, I'm no one's pet, I'm no one's prize, I'm no one's toy. And I love that. And it goes from, in the beginning, people telling her, Tamlin telling her, oh, there are no high ladies, to her being the high lady of the night court at the end of the book, which is just amazing. And I think if that doesn't describe her development, nothing does. I also really liked, there was a quote in here about, she was talking, well, reflecting about her and Tamlin, and she said that he doesn't fit the person she is now. And I really liked that, and I think that that was a big moment for her. She was like, okay, I loved him once, but that doesn't mean he's right for me, and that doesn't mean he's right for me now. And I thought that that was, like, beautiful and a beautiful way to put it, and I think, like, a lot of people can learn from that. And that's probably, like, one of my favorite quotes in here. And then, that's just the topic of, like, the love triangle and everything. I obviously am, like, a Feyre and Rhys shipper. You'd think I'd be frustrated, but I really appreciated the time that they took to develop their relationship, and that they waited until basically, like, the end of the book to, like, admit they, like, loved each other and, like, you know, that shit bout wow. Because I think that it was more realistic, where, like, Feyre needed to heal and make peace with it herself, because she was about to marry Tamlin. Like, she obviously, like, did love him, but she had to make peace with the fact that she already moved on. And I think, like, they both had a lot of healing to do, and I like that they got to do that together and develop a friendship and an organic connection and relationship, rather than, like, insta-love or it being forced. And I think that's more powerful than if they would have just been like, oh, you're mated, like, get together. Like, I think the fact that she had already loved him before she found out that they were mated kind of, like, made more sense for them and made for a better story. Also, I love the fact that they're mated and now married and now High Lord and High Lady. It's wonderful, and it is the power couple that we deserve. So I am all here for it. This is now, like, A Court of Mr. Fury is now one of my favorite books of all time. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's just on the three of them. And Faye's, like, development arc. If we move to talk about the actual plot itself, was way more interesting than the first book. I just thought it was so interesting, because you're like, the whole book you're uncovering, like, this, like, war that's coming on, and, like, what they know, and they're peeling it back piece by piece, and then they get to visit, like, another court. Like, they get to visit Summer Court, and they get to, like, meet the Weaver and the Bone Maker dude, I forget what his name is, and, like, exploring the world is really fascinating, because I almost felt like as trapped as Feyre did in the first book, because we were stuck in one setting for the entire time and we never went anywhere else. So for me, it was so beautiful, first of all, but so, like, fascinating to actually explore this world finally and see, like, all the breathtaking things that we didn't get to see, which I think maybe that's what Sarah J. Maas was trying to do, like, trying to make us feel the stuckness that Feyre felt and make us be like, wow, we were missing out on this whole world while we were stuck in Spring Court with Tamlin. And I obviously love the new characters that were introduced, like Mor and Azriel and Amren and Cassian were just, they're awesome people, and I love them, and I'm happy that Feyre has people that she feels like are her family finally and appreciate her. And the fact that Cassian, like, yelled at Nesta for not being there for her and for letting Feyre, the youngest, go out and, like, take care of them, I think it needed to be said, and I'm glad that somebody said it. But I love them, and I love their characters, and I'm excited to see where they go, and I'm pretty sure that Nesta is going to end up being Cassian's mate, because you can see, like, kind of the connection that they have, and, like, they're both very cold and sometimes, and I think that that's good for each other. Also, on the topic of Lucien and Elaine, ugh, like, I can't decide if I love it or hate it. The fact that they're mated, I'm like, okay, it's an advantage, and Lucien's not really a bad guy, he's just so up Tamlin's ass, he can't think for himself. But then I also feel like Elaine deserves someone better than Tamlin's puppet. But then I'm like, okay, maybe they can use that to their advantage. So I'm hoping that there will be some, like, redemption arc for Lucien in the next book, because I didn't think he was a bad guy and I didn't mind him. in the first book, and I don't think he wants to be doing the things he's doing, but I think that he feels a sense of loyalty to Tamlin, and he like feels scared to go against it. So I think hopefully he'll break against it now that like he knows who his mate is and they're on opposite sides of the war. Hopefully he'll break against it and he'll redeem himself. There's no redeeming Tamlin. I hate Tamlin. It was completely his fault that Nesta and Elaine are now Fae, and he literally handed Feyre over just to get her back and to force her back against her will, which is so abusive, and I just don't understand why you would want to force someone to be with you if they don't really want to be with you. That being said, the ending was tragic, but also I'm like so excited for the next book, because the last sentence of this book, I just have to read it out loud because it's just like bam is all I have to say. And so Tamlin unwittingly led the High Lady of the Night Court into the heart of his territory. Badass, because Feyre's now gonna go and destroy all the people who tried to destroy her and hold her down. She's gonna be like, I'm the strongest of them all now, bitches. You can't hold me down. And I'm so excited for her and to see that. And this is like the justice and like revenge she deserves. Feyre is the most badass female character I think I've ever read. I think she might be my favorite female book character of all time, honestly. I definitely see what everyone's saying about the abuse Tamlin does to her, and I'm just happy that she had Rhys and herself to, you know, pull her out of it and help her, and that now she's loved in the right way. So, okay. I hope you enjoyed this video in my review of Acotar and Acomaf. Comment down below what you thought of these books and what like different points you had, if you agree or disagree or whatever, because I'd be interested to hear like everyone's perspective on everything. And yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe for more content. I will see you with the next one. Bye.
Slowly kisses passing by the river. I've been missing your strawberry.